Hi, everyone. So today we're going to just do a quick review of the past perfect tense. So we've looked at the past continuous tense and we've looked at the simple past tense. So this is our third past tense form in English, and we've got some unique things about this one. So let's review it and let's see if we can compare it to ones that we already know. So the past perfect tense will be used when something took place and finished before something else. So a lot of the time you'll use the past perfect when you are talking about like a story or you're giving the order of events. So some examples, it had stopped raining, so I did not bring an umbrella. So we can look and see, oops, we had our had stopped. So that is the first example of our past perfect. But we also used the simple past. And so we have two past tense. It had stopped raining. That was something that was happening and ended before something else. So you can start to see how it works with order of events and telling a story. So our second example in the blue, she had gone to many events like this before, but this was the most fun. So that's comparing two different things. She had gone to many things in the past. Again, this is like telling a story, giving more details, the order of events. All of those events were over and they already happened. And then we are comparing them to the one that she's at right now. So I think a good way to remember that is if you are comparing things in the past, then the past perfect tense is a good one to use. They are not still happening. Always in the past tense, the event is over, right? So we can put that on our timeline. We have whatever is happening right now. And in the past perfect, this would happen all in the past, all previously, and nothing would happen in the future. We're not there yet. So where we've got had gone, had gone. Um, and again, always in the past because the event is over and she's comparing it to other events. Let's look at how we can form the past perfect tense. So you will form the past perfect tense by adding the word had and you use the main verb in the past participle form. So you use this word had. This one is like the past continuous where you have two components and you'll use the word had. And then we're going to learn about past participles. For regular verbs, this is pretty easy. But for irregular verbs, they all have unique past participle forms. So we'll have to start learning some of those. You might need to refer to a list and make sure that you're using the correct past participle form. So there's our formula. We've got our subject, and then we add the word had, and then we've got our verb in the past participle. Let's look at an example. Everyone, that is our subject. Everyone had spoken. We haven't seen that word spoken yet in this particular tense. So that is an irregular verb. In the infinitive, that is the word speak. In the simple past, spoke, but past participle, spoken. So that has three different forms, which is why it's so important for us to get used to our irregular verbs and to check with the list to make sure that we're using the right ones. Let's look at another example. My neighbor, there's our subject, had, we will always use the word had in our past perfect, and then eaten. Do you know which word that comes from? The infinitive is the word eat. In the simple past, I ate something yesterday. But again, this is a very unique form for the past participle, eaten. All the irregular past participles are unique, so I can't stress this enough. You're just going to have to get used to referring to a list every once in a while until you get really comfortable. Here's some rules. So to form the past participle with regular verbs, much easier. So regular verbs, we take our infinitive of the verb and we just add ed. So there's an example. She had painted. We always, always, always use the word had in our past participle. And here we've got the word paint. There's the verb in the infinitive. And for this form, we added ed. That's a regular verb. She had painted. Irregular verbs, here's some examples. Again, I'm so sorry, but there are no hard and fast rules for learning the past participles of irregular verbs. All the forms are unique. So for some examples, we have our word build and the past participle built. Drive changes to driven, begin, begun, eat, eaten, get, gotten. Know changes to known. Let stays the same. Let and let. And then finally the word swim, which would change to swum. I had swum in the lake before. Let's do some practice sentences, and I'll keep some of the irregular forms and I'll clue you in to some of the ones that are irregular. So let's practice with these 5 sentences. They blank already blank when I arrived. The verb we want to use is eat, and this is an irregular verb. So we need to fill in a word here and here. Remember our 2 components. Which 2 words do we need? And then refer back to our list of irregular verbs at the top. So I'll give you a second to write down your answer. And there's our answer. Always we need our 2 components, and we can sometimes split them like I did in this example with the word already. Sometimes you can split it like that with a word like already. So they had already eaten when I arrived. Always use the word had, and then we have our verb eat, which is irregular. We looked up here at our list of irregular verbs and we found that it should be eaten in the past participle. Let's look at number 2. She blank blank him for years before I introduced them. And our word is know. And again, the word know is an irregular verb. So fill in our 2 components of past perfect. And there's our answer. She had known. Always use the word had, and we can refer back to our list. That's how important having a list is, so that when you're getting comfortable, you can refer back to something and check your answers. Had known. Had known. All right, so now we're getting into some easier ones, hopefully. Let's look at number 3. I blank blank home before my family arrived. And our word is walk, and the word walk is a regular verb. So think back, what did we do for regular verbs? And I'll remind you, let's see if you can do it on your own for a second. Had walked home. Walk is a regular verb. And if we scroll back up, we can see that for regular verbs, thank goodness we do have a rule. Regular verbs, take your infinitive, add ed. That's what we did. We took the infinitive of walk and we just added ed. Number 4, they blank blank working by the time I got there. Our word is finish. This is a regular verb, and so you should do this one pretty quick. There's our answer. They had finished. Again, you're starting to recognize, always use the same word, had. We always need the word had when we are talking past tense, past perfect tense. All right, and our last one. What blank blank, what blank they blank about? So this is our question form, and we will split up our question form. Our word is cry. This is a regular verb, but here we're introducing the rule. Think back to our past, our simple past tense. What did we do with words that ended in I? I'll give you a second and I'll remind you if you don't know. Words that end in Y will change the Y to I and add ed. Did you remember that? So go ahead and fill in the rest of the sentence with your past perfect tense. All right, so we have our word cry. Again, we added the ed because this is a regular verb, but we see the y on the end and the y changes to I. Okay, and so when we add in this question word of what, we change our structure a little bit. So for question words, like generally, we would just have our subject plus had plus the verb, right? But in question forms, we'll have our question word plus the word had, then we'll introduce our subject, and then we'll have our verb. Okay, so that's our structure for question words. Please email me if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll keep practicing these, and then we will start to put all of our past tenses together and start comparing and contrasting. Okay, thank you.